Fresh out of spring break and fresh off a trip to NYC, you might notice some hardware on the desk. Well, Jake and I, all we really did was look pretty good. Liam Blaze is currently in the back running the show as of right now. He's actually the recipient of this award, Best Program Promotion for that Open that you just saw. So from me and Jake, I want to say big thanks to Liam. And hey, winners win. That's exactly what you see right here. And while we were away for break, some Hounds picked up some hardware as well. We'll start on the mats with Derek Blueball going back-to-back like Drake. And now he's third in program history and wins with 128, ending his career. And what a way he did so, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, you look at one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, Kamaru Usman, one of the best welterweights. He was a D2 wrestler as well at Nebraska Kearney. He was a three-time All-American, made it to the finals twice. So you look at some of the names that come out of the college wrestling world going to a big moneymaker in the MMA, but there's also the Olympics. That's a good pathway to go, and I'm not sure if that's exactly where he's at right now, but I would love to see him competing at the national level.
You know, someone give Dana a call because we have a guy here at UINDY that might be fit for the octagon. But as we head from the mats, we'll now go to the track where UINDY Track and Field saw 4 All-Americans over the past week, those being Alex Myers, Zoe Pentecost, Josue Lacadre, and Ellie Lingrich. So that's awesome to see from track and field. That's doing a lot of everything, and I don't think I could do any of it, Jake.
No, I don't think I could do any of those. I tried in elementary school. Didn't make the team my first 2 years. Made it my 5th grade year.
You got cut from the track team?
I did get cut from the track team.
I didn't know they made cuts of the track team.
In elementary school, too, which makes it even worse. But anyway, my track dreams were never much. I had to transfer over to basketball. They typically say that the track athletes are failed athletes from other sports. I find that to be the complete opposite. I think to run track, you had to be one of the more talented athletes. You got to be obviously very quick, but you got people like Ellie doing many different events, and well, she was pretty talented in all those events.
Well, we'll move now to swimming, who also saw a chance at some hardware at the National Division II Championships at the IU Natatorium. And for swimming, women found 4th place, men found 5th. And while this is great for any school to have this appearance at Nationals, 4th and 5th, not exactly up to the UINDY standard, but Coach said it was a great weekend, saw great swimming. Some things just didn't fall their way. That's the way it goes when you're competing for hardware year after year after year sometimes.
If you look at the GLVC right now, the best swimming conference in all of Division II, you got Drury. I think they probably had 10 first-place finishes. I was scrolling through Instagram. I follow both the D2 and the GLVC, so I got to see every single post twice. I mean, it was like first place Drury, first place Drury, first place Drury. Every single time I was looking at something. So obviously it's going to be hard to win a national championship when you got 2 or 3 other teams in your conference at that top level.
I mean, with all these All-American nominees, national champions, heck, an IBS award. That's international, by the way. Props to Liam, best in the world for that Open that you just saw.
Yeah, suck it, Philippines. We're better than you.
There you go. There you go. Courtesy of the U.S. of A. But as we look to the Circle City, Indianapolis, the Colts made some moves in free agency. Drop some, add some. We'll talk about it next.
Good morning, Greyhounds.
Your weekly dose of Greyhound entertainment.
I think if you watch our team, they have fun. You know, they have fun playing.
There's so much that you can do to get the most out of your experience.
Our alumni care deeply about the success of this university.
Come here. Watch Good Morning Greyhounds every Saturday at 9 a.m. Catch us on UINDY TV's YouTube channel and Xfinity Channel 1096.
In the offseason, the Colts are putting in some heavy work. Looking at their free agency, they're losing guys like Dio Odeyingbo, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, a couple key pieces on the offensive line. Jake, I know that these are big names in Indianapolis, and we've really become accustomed to Fries and Kelly on that offensive line, including Dio on the defensive end. But if you ask me, when you go out and get the guys that we're going to talk about here in a minute, I think you might have made the right move in the front office, which isn't something that we've been saying a lot about the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, right move, I think is definitely opinion-based. I think the Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, those are two guys that you're dearly going to miss on that offensive line. You look at what the Vikings are building over there, and they're building a pretty solid O-line. They've got some veterans coming in, and I mean, Will Fries, I feel like really just never got the chance to shine in Indianapolis, similar to Dio. I mean, two guys that really just didn't fit the system that Indiana was running. Now with Lou coming in, I think Dio would have been a much better fit on this Colts defense, but now they have two linebackers left on that roster. EJ Speed, one of them, who's also in free agency. So you got options if you're the Colts, but you look at the things that they did lose, and I think that you're looking at that offensive line. There's some gaps in there now.
Well, you know what? You look at this offensive line last year, and they were so underwhelming, right? And I don't feel like a lot of it was AR holding the ball. I don't think that was a huge problem, because that was, I mean, a problem with Phillip Rivers, a problem with Matt Ryan. I mean, all of these guys, right? When we look back on this offensive line, I feel like they've underperformed for the past 3, 4, nearly 5 years to this point. It goes all the way back to the Andrew Luck era. So things weren't working. I don't think they were going to necessarily get better as you still undergo that development, especially at the quarterback position. And this allows you to spend money elsewhere, notably in the defensive backfield. But obviously you're going to feel that hurt, but you have some young guys stepping up, I feel like, on the offensive line that can help you out a lot if you're the Colts. And I don't think this year is considered that win or bust. I don't see that. If anything, this is a makeshift rebuild year, kind of see where you're at with AR, because that defines the entirety of the Colts system right now. If you can't find a quarterback, you're not going to find anything in the NFL.
I think that's a good way to look at this, because offensive line, that's where you look when you're going for that championship run. You look at what the Chiefs tried to build around Patrick Mahomes. You look at now what the Vikings are trying to build around whoever they decide to bring in. I think it might be Aaron Rodgers at this point. But for the Colts, there's a lot of other things to worry about. You bring in Daniel Jones, bring in Khalil Herbert. I think those are two great pickups. Not only are you going to provide some competition in the quarterback room for Anthony Richardson, I think there's a chance that you might see Daniel Jones starting the first possession this year. There is a very solid opportunity.
So now we're talking about the adds to this Colts team, and Daniel Jones at the forefront of that. Jones and Richardson, the two most inefficient quarterbacks in the NFL over the last couple of years. So the Colts, can we say they're stacked just yet in the QB room? No, not at all. Not even close. But in terms of bringing in a guy to battle against AR, I don't understand why you're fighting to put a C-plus quarterback into the mix. It's if a C-plus, right? But for the money, he's probably the best you're going to get.
That's what I'm thinking. You look at the value. You look at what you're getting out of him. You're bringing in competition. You don't necessarily want him to start. If that ends up being the case, that ends up being the case. Anthony Richardson, if he doesn't start week 1, I don't think he's going to be Indianapolis' quarterback for the rest of the season. I think that's just, they're going to move on. If he doesn't prove himself as being a clear number 1 option over Daniel Jones, we're talking about Daniel Jones, the guy that got beat out by Tommy DeVito for the starting position on the Giants. Didn't play a single game, I don't think, for the Vikings. And I just don't see how the Colts progress with him as their starting quarterback. I don't see where you go, but you look at the rest of the options. You got Sam Darnold. That's a paycheck. I mean, a fat paycheck.
After this last year, definitely.
And then you got, on top of that, Aaron Rodgers. You know that's a fat paycheck. Mm-hmm. No matter what, Aaron Rodgers is going to want money, whether he's good, whether he's not good. You're going to have to pay him to play. There's just really not too many good options in the draft this year. Yeah. I mean, especially where the Colts are at. If they want to drop everything and try and trade up to get Shedeur,
then it takes trade value to get there, which is tough. And you want to talk about spending a bag. How about $120 million over the next 4 years to an upgraded defensive backfield? You talk about Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum, two big bring-ins for Indianapolis. And what I talked about a couple weeks ago here on the show when we talked about what the Colts needed, you needed the playmaker. I think you got two of them here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Charvarius Ward, that's your clear cornerback number 1. That's going to be your defensive leader. I think you put him in that system, you make him the system, build everything around him, and really allow him to be the leader of the defense. I think when you look at all these really good defensive teams, one, they have multiple defensive leaders. I think when you look at the Eagles, there's a lot of good players on that team. There's a lot of players that you could look at to be a leader, so you don't rely on just one person. I feel like the Colts, they kind of put it all on the back of DeForest Buckner, or they put it all on the back of a guy that doesn't necessarily need all the pressure on him. And I think you distribute that a little bit by picking up a very, very good secondary. I mean, I think the Colts are taking steps in the right direction. I will say, Corey Ballantyne, I think that was a waste of a pickup. Yes, you're adding depth. If you look at his stats, basically a fly on the wall. I mean, he was basically a fly on the wall, did not do anything. Yes, he didn't have a great last season. He was dealing with some off-field issues, but oops, excuse me.
But even before,
yeah, I'm not going to hit the panic button yet. That was a false panic button.
False
I apologize. False alarm. Panic button not being sounded just yet. Although, if I do see Daniel Jones starting first snap, you best believe this will be getting pressed a lot.
Okay.
It might just be a 30-minute episode of me sitting here like this, hitting the button. But I think that there's a lot of good things. That Herbert pickup coming off the Bengals did have his greatest season last year, and I think he's yet to really prove his value in the league. And I think that's something that the Colts are really going to be able to get out of him, especially as a backup quarterback. The Bengals, they tried to throw him in as a 2/1. When Chase Brown got hurt, Chase Brown was out for about 5-6 games. It was Herbert taking over the majority of the load. That's when you saw the Bengals struggle to run the ball, struggle to pass the ball a little bit more. That's coming from an angry Bengals fan, but I think he's going to provide a lot of value for the Colts.
You know, going back to what you were saying about Charvarius Ward and him bringing that veteran presence to Indianapolis, the Colts actually have reasonable success cleaning up after the 49ers, bringing in that veteran star and having an immediate impact on the defensive end. For Ward, he gets to see the whole field. For Buckner, he's got the offensive line in front of him. He's doing his job. He's attacking the quarterback, providing pressure. And now Ward gets to reel it all in, really make this defense for the Colts a two-sided sword, a double-edged sword, right? This is a team now that can not only count on its defensive backfield, but rely on those guys back there. And with that veteran presence in the locker room, you only expect these young guys to get better too.
Looking back to 2023, Charvarius Ward, 5 interceptions. That's a guy that you need on your team. He also had a pick 6. That was something that we talked about a lot in that last episode.
Need it.
Playmaker. That is the word. Someone that's going to go out and change the game, whether it's one play, whether it's the entire game. Having that ability to have one player that really sets your team apart, I think that's what the Colts found right here.
Well, Colts in their offseason, it's going to be a minute until we see them hop on the gridiron. However, NBA in the midst of their season, and some early MVP rankings coming up from Jake and I.
National, local, campus. Headlines you won't find anywhere else. From the White House to your community, we've got you covered. Stay informed and stay connected. Don't miss out on the stories shaping our world. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. UINDY TV News.
Well, welcome in. Jake, you said you had a question for me in the past 10 seconds. What do you got?
So when we look at the MVP race, I feel like it's different for everybody. Everyone has a different opinion of what MVP means. Obviously, it stands for most valuable player, but that middle word, what is value? What is the most valuable player? Because we found in years previous that it's not the most valuable player to their team. It's not necessarily the most valuable player to the league. It's kind of an awkward mix between a bunch of different regular stats, advanced stats, on and off the court activities, leadership roles, a lot of intangible things. But what do you look for when you're looking for an MVP?
I feel like it's that guy who has the greatest impact, not only on their team and the game they're playing, but on the league, on the NBA. Who do the fans like? Who's selling the merchandise? Who's getting the clicks? Who's on the social media? And you see a couple guys in this race, in Shea, in Jokic, both in contention for that. Obviously, two different personalities, two different approaches to the game. But as we ask ourselves, who are in the early MVP rankings, you obviously have those two guys. I'm pretty sure we're decided that Giannis is in at that 3 spot with maybe some underliers here and there. If it's me personally, I got this guy at my 1. I got Jokic, coming off of 30, 20, and 20 not too long ago. When we look at him in his last couple years, Jokic is playing the best basketball he's ever played in his career, averaging a triple-double right now. And this guy's won MVP 2 straight years.
Well, would have been 3 straight years, but Joel Embiid broke that up. 2023, I believe, and then last year won it again. So breaking it up, kind of like LeBron back when Derrick Rose broke up his, what could have been a 5-peat, but that nice little convenient MVP in the middle with Joel Embiid. However, I will argue that LeBron, he's been having a pretty good season. I don't know if you can argue with the efficiency of Giannis, and I think that's why he's up here at 3. Yeah. He is by far the most efficient player in all of the NBA every single year, and it's really not even a debate. So, I mean, you look at him right here, we'll get a good look at all these stats, but I think LeBron, you might look at that and say, yeah, he's just a little bit worse than Jokic, but you talk about providing value to the NBA, providing value to the team, and really, you look at jersey sales, he's going to be the highest. Every single year, LeBron will be the highest jersey sale of of everybody. He's like averaging 6th best in assists, 20th or 12th in points per game. So he's up there rankings-wise if that's something you're worried about. But also, if you're going to look at advanced stats, once again, I mean, LeBron's up there in pretty much all of them. Your top 4, LeBron, Shea, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis at 1. So those are your most efficient players. And then you look at the defensive rating. That's where Shea really steps ahead of everybody else in the field. So my question is, do you value defense a little bit more? I think that the NBA MVP has really become an offensive award. Whoever averages the most points typically tends to win it. You look back to James Harden, Russell Westbrook. I wouldn't say they were even the best players in their conference, but they still won it over guys like Caden and Steph, who were
Wait. Say that one more time.
balling.
Say that one more time.
I'm going out.
James Harden and Russell Westbrook were the best
limb.
players in their conference?
I'm not even going out on a limb when I'm saying that they were not nowhere near the best players in the NBA. I will not say that. KD and Steph were better than them both of those years.
I can't even. Then, okay.
Yes.
First person since Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double. James Harden was averaging 40.
Jokic does it every single day. Every single game, he averages almost 2 triple-doubles. I mean, we just watched him get one when we were in New York.
We got to move on. We got to. There's no way.
What are you talking about?
There's no way. We're talking right now. I think that disqualifies your opinion. I think that actually gives me 4 wins on the pick 'em.
What?
Genuinely.
The team that won the NBA, they went 73 and whatever. They were by far, like, whatever. They were definitely.
They is
individually, Kevin Durant was better than both of them both years. Kevin Durant is better than James Harden. He's better than Russell Westbrook.
No.
Yes.
No.
What are you talking about?
James Harden was literally averaging 40. James Harden was playing some of the best basketball the NBA has ever seen.
Further proving my point that it doesn't matter if you play a lick of defense. It doesn't matter if you can do anything other than score the ball. James Harden averaged 40 and 7, I think. He was not the best player. He's the best scorer, best offensive player. Yeah, for sure, the best offensive player. Look at Russell Westbrook. That one, you have a better argument for that, but I don't think James Harden was the best all-around player in the league.
Well, I mean, trying to cool down from that, we have some dark horses in the MVP race. Jake has kind of talked about his and LeBron. Here we have the Kia MVP ladder with Jokic there first, Shea at second. You talked about LeBron as your dark horse. Steph Curry was mine at that 6th spot. Warriors are 9-1 in their last 10. We're seeing a renaissance in Golden State. Talk about a guy whose numbers, when compared to his unanimous MVP season, aren't amazing. But when we talk about value and impact, we're starting to see that Steph Curry again that we really know and love here in the NBA. And just, this looks like vintage Steph. This looks like the Steph that we saw in the Olympics this summer. This looks like Steph that we saw in 2017. He's found, it seems like, that love for the game again, right? You lost Clay, and the Warriors organization is kind of in that twist and turnaround, trying to find itself again. They bring in Jimmy Butler, and here we go. He's pulling up from 30. He's pulling up from 30. He's firing it from 3/4 lengths of the floor. And I like what this guy's doing a lot right now.
But that's going to be the argument for anybody who's against him in MVP voting, is because he wasn't that good. Or not, he wasn't that good, but he wasn't performing at a high of a level before Jimmy Butler came in. They bring him in. Now he's made that step up. But I will argue that he's done pretty much the same thing even when Jimmy Butler's not playing in those games. He's been out for about a week or two now. So I think that that's kind of discredits that argument a little bit. Steph Curry, very good player. I think right now Steph Curry's probably my 5. Okay. I think that I would put him right at that 5 spot just because the Warriors aren't as high up in the rankings as some of the other teams. But my guy, I'm going with LeBron. You already mentioned it. LeBron, I mean, he's having one of the better seasons that he has had in his very, very long career here in the NBA. Look at some of the stats. He's averaging 25 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, 8.5 assists per game, all of those in the top 25 in the NBA. And you also talk about added value, one of the best leaders in all the NBA. He's proven to be that. They call him Le GM for a reason. He basically takes over a team, takes over their whole process, and does everything that they need him to do. So, I mean, LeBron, he's also shooting 51% or 52% from the field, which is something I feel like a lot of people don't take into account because there are a lot of people shooting good percentages. But he's taking it to the rack. He's shooting threes. He's shooting these fadeaways. LeBron is an all-around player this year. And I like how the Lakers have tried to move him into that power forward position. They realize that they're lacking in the big man room. So he's been going out. He's been getting him 12 rebounds a game these past week or two. He hasn't played because of that groin strain, but he'll be back in about a week. And I was talking with Freddie before this. I really don't know that the Lakers are a championship contender team because the way that they're playing right now without LeBron.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. LeBron is at his best when he's playing with another dynamic wing. You look at Dwayne Wade, you look at Kyrie Irving, and now Luka Doncic. That opens up the game so much for LeBron. And I think the reason that we didn't see that with AD as much, even though they did win a championship, whether you consider that a Mickey Mouse ring or not, I don't. But LeBron just has the paint open for him now. And what that does is not only allows him to excel downhill, but allows him to excel as a distributor. As he gets downhill, the trap comes, and the ball dishes off to another elite scorer in Doncic.
And maybe that's what the Lakers were thinking, not bringing in a big guy before the trade deadline. They want to give LeBron as much freedom as possible with the ball. And it makes sense bringing in a guy like Luka who doesn't necessarily need 30 shots per game. Like you look at Shai Gilgeous, he's not scoring what he's scoring without shooting the ball 30 times. Same thing with Damian Lillard. He's not getting as many shots in Milwaukee. Now you're seeing the scoring fall off a little bit. He's not having those 50-point outbursts. So when I look at a guy like LeBron, he's bringing in one of the best scorers, if not the best scorer in the NBA right now in Luka Doncic. I mean, there's not very many guys that can guard him, and he's still putting up the same numbers. That just proves that that's not the only thing that makes this team good. LeBron is a great player, and I believe he should be in that MVP conversation.
And I think it was a very important question that you asked to start off the segment. What defines value? What makes the MVP the most valuable player in the National Basketball Association? And I think you also have to look at the team around the player, right? I think one thing that does hurt Shai, he is playing with the West All-Stars, or at least the JV West All-Stars, right? When they're fully healthy, that is a team that rivals almost anybody all time in terms of talent. With a healthy Chet, both Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein has been playing great ball at this point and complements Shai very well. Do you feel like a team that surrounds Shai like that diminishes the value of Shai?
I don't. I think that you can always sit there and make the argument of the team, he makes the team better. But you could argue the same thing about Trae Young. You could say Trae Young, the Hawks don't win a single game without Trae Young, and I'll die on that hill. I don't think that the Kings win a game without Domantas Sabonis. I think that he is the key to that team. Being the key to your team doesn't make you the MVP. That's what I've learned over these past couple of years with Jokic winning. He has a good team. Jamal Murray, great player. He usually plays bad in the beginning of the season, picks it up at the end.
In the playoffs, he's crazy.
That's exactly what happens every single year, and it seems to be the same thing. He just dropped 40 the other night, or 35, whatever it was. But I think that when you're looking at Jokic, you're looking at Shai. They're on two very solid teams. The Thunder, they're a little bit better than the Nuggets, and ranking-wise obviously shows that. But I think that when you look at I can't remember exactly what the stat is, but the Nuggets are vastly better with Nikola Jokic versus when they're not. Like, it's difference between, I think
that's that team, man.
Plus 15, minus 5, I think is the range there. It's a 20-point range for Shai. It's like 10 It's about half. No one's close to Jokic in that stat. I'll have to find it. I'll put it in the comments. But Jokic, he's just playing out of this world right now.
Out of this world. Insane. And we watched him when we were in New York, sitting in the hotel room, and we're thinking there's no way this guy gets a 30, 20, and 20. Well, he did, and that's that as we move to our pick'ems. And you wouldn't believe who's first up on the slate. The Denver Nuggets with Jokic, who we were just talking about, and they'll be traveling to Golden State to play the Warriors, who have won 7 straight to this point. And you know, I'm a big Warriors guy. I've been talking about their renaissance, but I think Nikola Jokic will take it out on the road against Steph Curry and this blazing hot Warriors team.
I'm going to be honest. I thought you were going to pick the Warriors as
you tried to steal one from me, huh?
I did try and steal one from you. Jokic dropped like 38 points. He had a double-double against.
There's no matchup.
Triple-double. Yeah, there is no matchup. If all they had to do is run a pick and roll, get Steph Curry on Jokic, and Jokic will hit 10 threes. He shot 75% from the three-point line against them earlier in the year. There's no way the Nuggets – this is my guarantee. No way the Nuggets do not win. If the Nuggets fail me again, I'll never pick them.
You know what? I won't go as far as Jake to say that it's 100% a lock, but when we do look at that matchup at the 5 spot, Jokic probably has 35-plus, 12-plus assists, and will definitely be a threat to secure that triple-double. So, moving now to the second game on the slate, you'll start us off this time, Jake. Detroit is on the road in Miami.
I had a tough time picking this one. I mean, I really like Cade Cunningham. I like what the Pistons are doing, but the Heat. Just too attractive, man. I can't go against Tyler Hero, and now they got Andrew Wiggins on that team. I mean, it's a solid squad. I'm going with the Heat for this one.
You know, Detroit's had a game earlier this week where they had 5 technical fouls in the third quarter. And, you know, I don't feel like all 5 should have really been assessed to Detroit. I think that stuff kind of, what goes around comes around, right? Comes full circle. I think Detroit gets what they deserve coming up in this game against Miami. In prime time, Detroit's going to take it. Cade has 33 and some change.
Okay, all right.
There you go. Third game, Nets at the Pacers. This one is in Indiana at Gainbridge, where I see the hometown team and the Pacers taking it against a Nets team who is still looking to find some identity.
Yeah, Pacers all day. They don't have an identity. When you look at the Nets, who plays for the Nets?
Well, the average person couldn't tell you.
Exactly. That's kind of my point. And the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, they've had a great March. They've been marching along, so to speak. I think that they're picking up at the right time. I'm going to go Pacers as well.
Brook Lopez is still the leading scorer in Nets history, franchise history, just for anyone who wants to know that.
Fun fact of the day right there.
Clippers are at home against the Grizzlies. What's your insight, say, Jake?
The Clippers are actually, I believe, 7-2. In the month of March. They've been on a pretty good winning streak, a 7-game winning streak. They lost their first 2 games and have won the next 7. They do have a tough one against the Nuggets coming up, but I think that they're going to pull this one off against the Grizzlies. I got Clippers.
You and I on the same page in this one. I've been high on the Memphis train for the past couple weeks, especially here on Last Call. But the Clippers, when they're healthy, James Harden and Kawhi, James Harden can have that game every now and then when he does look like he did in 2017, or was it 2018, you know, when he was, you know, destroying everybody
when
in the
Steph
league.
Curry and Kevin Durant were better than him.
Yeah, for sure. But we can go back to the MVP column for that one. And wrapping it up, Milwaukee in Sacramento to play a revamped Kings team. Zach LaVine, not De'Aaron Fox no more, but DeMar DeRozan, Domas Sabonis. And this one's still going to be the Bucks. Giannis, he's fallen under the radar, hasn't gotten as much coverage this season, but against a Sacramento team, I don't see anybody holding this guy under 30.
Yeah, I got to go Bucks as well. I don't see how the Kings pull this one off. I mean, Sabonis, he could have a crazy game and go off, but now they don't have De'Aaron Fox. I just don't really see this team competing with a top 5 team like the Bucks.
As we show me the records.
Pulling away. Keeping it. I think that's
pulling away.
I'm 2 away.
Pulling away. I've been in the lead
ground. I've been in the lead all since break.
Yeah. You better enjoy it come the end of the semester. We still got 6 weeks left, ladies and gentlemen. 6 weeks, and we'll probably be up around. I'm sitting around 50 wins when we get to that point. That's what I'm guessing. 50.
Not
52.
You.
We'll see. This is Last Call.